Hey everyone, it's October 18th, 2024. We had a couple deep freezes, but before we get a long-term freeze that could freeze up and damage the pumps and stuff, we're gonna take apart this stuff now for the winter. Right here we have a small solar-powered air compressor. So every year what I do is I disconnect this stuff, bring it into the house, clean it up. These smaller air lines are usually okay. They don't clog up because there's just air in them. On the other hand, next year, I'm gonna end up buying black hoses for see this little frog fountain? It's very clogged up. You see the slime and stuff right there? Almost the whole diameter is taken all the way through it. So it barely can pass water. But if it was black, it wouldn't grow as much algae inside. There are certain types of slime that grow in the dark. Yes, but they take a lot longer to grow. The big fountain just shut off because I'm blocking its solar panel. Now, this pond's deep enough that the big pump probably wouldn't freeze, so I could probably leave it down there, but I'm going to take it in just because I want to clean the pump and see how clogged it is over the summer. So we're going to take this panel in, clean it. We want to take in a lot of the wires too because mice and stuff will chew it when there's no food, when there's literally nothing else. Taking this solar panel, taking the tiny pump. The big pump is down there and it's huge. Now we can leave these blocks out here, these glass bricks, because they're made for outdoors, but the ones in the water have to come out because the ice is gonna expand into them and break them. Now I saw a frog in here yesterday. This time of year most of them are already in hibernation. There's a few of them that are stubborn, they keep bouncing in and out, but at the moment I don't know if there are any. It's pretty warm today. We're not gonna get a frost for another week, but it's nice weather to take all this apart. So after we get a long-term freeze, I'm gonna remove the solar lights and lawn mow right up to it. Get rid of this little barrier, but that'll grow back in the spring. I leave a little barrier for frogs to have a place to hide without getting hit by the lawnmower. So let's go in there, take some of this apart. All right, everyone. So we're gonna pull the big pump out of here. We're gonna shut the fountain down for the winter. So here's the big panel. It came with a little kickstand, but it fits up on the moose perfectly. We're just gonna unscrew it. This is a waterproof gasket. And unplug it. All right, that fountain's done running for the year. We'll go store the stuff in the house. Now I gotta get the wire out of the grass. The grass always grows in around the hoses a lot. Actually, this looks like it's gonna be a pretty easy one to get out. Only because it's going under some patio blocks. But we gotta move all this stuff out of the way. All these ornaments have to come out of here. Gotta lift up this, get the wire out. That was stopping it from falling in the water. All right, put that back down. It's going under this piece of fence. All right, now it's stuck in the overgrown grass. What's holding it? What is holding it? We got a tangle. Let's disconnect this other solar panel too before we end up breaking it by pulling on its wire. The small one got tiny wires. We'll wash that panel in the basement too. Yeah, this is really grown in. All right, we got the big one free. Let's pull that pump up. Wow, super slimy. Look at that thing. I can't believe it was still working so well. The whole thing looks like it's basically clogged. Now let's unscrew that hose. Oh, I can't get it off. There we go. It's starting to move. Come on off. It moved a little bit, but it's slimy and slippery. All right, coming off. Now that slime grows on everything. It'll grow inside clear hoses. That's why actual pond pumps have black hoses. They blend in and they don't grow slime as quickly. All right, the inner diameter, see it? This black algae grows in the dark, but there's not much of it in there. we're gonna throw that back in there and we'll catch up with that thing in the spring. Now this, look at all that slime. Look at that. Look at how clogged that is. Now this is a box to catch big material. When we open this box up, on the inside, how do we open this again? On the inside there's a finer filter. Come on, open. Oh. Ooh, look at all that mud in there. Look at that mud. Look at the filter inside there. I added the secondary filter so it wouldn't clog up. I can't believe it was running as good as it was. But over time, I bet I'm just getting used to it. I bet if I turned it on right now after cleaning it, that I would see a massive difference in flow. Well, this was awesome, this solar pump. It did such a great job. So let's put these couple ornaments here back. And I'm gonna have to get some kind of like Tupperware bin so I can clean these things off. Actually, I think I'm gonna clean them outside because it's a nice day. I think last year I cleaned them in my basement sink because I removed them when the days were cold. Next week is gonna be cold again, but we got like 4 beautiful days. It feels like the end of summer again. So we got them out. Now we just gotta come over to the other side of our little pond and clean my hands off. That water is very cold compared to the air, but it hasn't got a layer of ice yet. All right, here's the solar powered air compressor. Get that out of there. Oh, I lost the air stone because it went through the grass. Oh, yeah, I found it. Yeah, the grass grows around and it encapsulates everything. Even the garden hose. I have a garden hose going in here now with a sprinkler timer, and it fills this thing up in the summer if I'm not home, and it overflows right here. It helps clean the water. That thing is so buried in the grass, I bet it would be hard to rip up. I decided to leave it because it's buried in the grass. The lawnmower will never hit it, and it'll probably take decades to actually deteriorate because it's a real rubber hose. So I'll just leave it sunk in the grass. Here's a little solar fountain. This one doesn't really work. This one broke down. But it lasted multiple years, so that definitely paid for itself. Now it just sits in here as basically a lily pad. But we're going to clean it up and put that one away too. It has these little straws on the side of it so that it can't get too close to spray water out of the pond or bird bath, whatever you have it in. Alright, let's get these blocks out of here. Look at the bottoms of them, they turn green. Look how the slime that was in the water. Alright, let's pull that out. Let's get the other one out. Other one. Get it out. Now let's go around to the other ponds and collect every fountain, bring it over here, and we'll wash them all off with the hose. And over here, you see these tiny little fountains. It just keeps the water from becoming stagnant. One of these is full of cattails. They are really good at cleaning out pollutants, oils, but keeping the water moving keeps it nice and fresh. It adds aeration for tadpoles and stuff to live in there. Has nothing to do with mosquitoes. Tadpoles will eat mosquitoes. It's a protein source. We also, in the summer months, attract water skimmers, which eat mosquitoes. They'll even kill mosquitoes because they're territorial. They don't even have to be, like, hungry. So, in the country, without pesticides, you get these cool predators of mosquitoes that show up, and these don't become mosquito ponds ever, like people seem to think they do. It's not like if you set this up in a city, things like frogs and water skimmers are likely never going to show up because everyone's pesticides around you has killed them off. All right, so let's pull these out. Always disconnect the solar panels before you pull them out of the water because you can burn out the pumps if they're running dry. And over here we have another one. Always disconnect the pump so it doesn't run dry. I have a lot of these things, and over the years of using them, only one time I've had a mouse or something chew the wire. But I would be very angry if they chewed it on that big pump. That was a $300 pump. These little ones were $40. And I've had them now 3 years. Next year, They'll be going on 4 years, and they last a very long time. And in the summer months when we're breeding frogs, these become quickly overpopulated. Even the ponds I don't stock become overpopulated. There's so many frogs come here to lay eggs that it gets to the point, even these little ponds, I have to put sprinkler timers where every couple of days it slowly flushes them out. The water just comes on a little trickle for a few hours. That's why we have these little screens right here, so it doesn't top. If the water topped, stupid tadpoles swim out and die. So that's why there's filters with drilled holes in the sides of both of these. And we also leave an escape route. See, both of them have escape routes so that frogs can get in and out, and something like a mouse or squirrel couldn't drown in any of the potential bowls around the yard. Now, if anyone wants to go and say these ponds look disgusting, it's natural. It's a natural little swamp looking pond, and frogs like that. If you keep your pond clean looking, no debris, no grass growing in around it, animals aren't going to want to use it. Frogs aren't going to want to show up to it. Plus, neglect, they actually like when it starts growing in and stuff. I remember years ago, people used to complain about my aquarium saying, ew, you don't clean them? Look at all the poop at the bottom. No, that has already decomposed and turned into silt, mud. And the animal actually likes when you neglect the tank better. They like when the whole thing becomes green, becomes algae covered, becomes mucky at the bottom, because it's natural. It's not natural to have a clean water aquarium. Neither is it to have a clean water pond. Now this right here is just a big floating mass on top of the water. None of those cattails are anchored, and I like it that way. It leaves lots of space underneath. Plus, cattails become kind of invasive. I'll probably kill off half of this bunch next year. Don't know what I'll do with them. Probably just throw them in the compost because they just grow out of control very quickly. See that little fountain right there squirting? I bet it would be going stronger if the solar panel wasn't destroyed. Look at that. It's got to wait so it doesn't move around. Look at the silt. This pond might actually have to be dug out at some point. But again, the animals like that because they can hide and hibernate and all that cover. This right here, my uncle bought this years ago for a bird bath. He said it sprayed too hard. They have different settings. I actually took it off so it just squirts a little so it doesn't get out of the pond. If this panel was better, it probably would be lasting. This is a weird fountain though. It can go half a year without running at all. Then randomly it'll start back up. Who knows why? But this has been out here for 5 years. I've never actually brought this one over for winter. This one just stays out here. And I'm not going to bring it in this year either. So this right here, this solar panel, and this is also going to need a hose replacement. I've known about it for a few weeks. It hasn't ran in a bit because the diameter of the clear pipe is full and clogged of slime. So this powers a tiny little pump that sends a little teeny trickle of flow up through that waterfall. I purposely packed the waterfall with living peat moss, and as the water trickles through it, it's a natural filter absorbing all kinds of contaminants and waste from the water. Now that waterfall there, I could put a pump just as powerful as that other pond, the big pump on there, but I don't want to because it's more disturbing for the animals. Just it trickling where you can barely notice it helps clean the water very nicely. Now let's find that pump. Going through all the cattails. I found the pump right over here, disconnect it. Now I gotta find out how to get it out of here because it's tangled in all of this muck. And we're getting kind of tangled now. Yeah, I don't want to break the wire. We're stuck in the roots. Where even is it? See how invasive this is? This wasn't here in the spring. I found it. Yeah, we got the pump out. We'll go clean that up nicely. Get out all the wires and stuff. And I think there's another solar fountain in here. This is so overgrown. that you can't see it. I think there's another one. Let's disconnect that wire so we don't burn that one out. Yep, right here. And this one I know does work. It looks like it lost its straws that keep it from the edge. I don't know where they went. I'm assuming they sunk. You see, this is just a big floating island. Look at that. The frogs like it. They like hanging out on it. All right, so let's go put these over by the house so we can spray them off, clean them off with the hose, put them away in a big Tupperware bin in the basement or something. Because some of these actually have batteries, so you want to keep them in the house. Like certain models, none of the ones I'm holding, none of the ones with the big solar panels. I purposely didn't want a battery backup for the giant pump, just because it's a battery you got to maintain. The first little round lily pad fountain I showed does have a battery backup, and that's its failure point. Now over here at my big pond, I have that panel, this panel right here, and ooh, the wildflowers survived the frost. We have this really big solar powered pump that has been out here running for 3 years. I have them all spliced together into just 2 hoses because I wanted to run really big air stones. So this pond, we got some lily pads in there. This pond is mostly shade. Over here is the pipe coming out of my basement for the sump pumps. And it's got a heat cable in the middle of it that we could plug into the wall to make sure the pipe doesn't freeze coming out. Now this pond is actually 4 feet deep. We made it really deep so that it is unable to freeze solid. The edge of the pond has a nice lip to walk on, but I'm letting it grow in. I don't mow anywhere near it. Keeps the animals happy. And it also has an overflow drain on the other side that leads into the woods. You see the little pipe? And I have a filter stuffed in it so fish and tadpoles can't get sucked out of it. But at the moment, I haven't been out here in a few weeks to maintain any of this, so these pumps are completely clogged. There's a giant air stone, and just to make sure it's working, even with inadequate sunlight, when it's in the shade like this pump gains a charge every couple seconds and goes, It's making sure, yep, it's still working. Let's disconnect all this and go over and, oh yeah, that fountain is actually working, but you see it is pretty clogged up. It is always so hard. See these hoses and that little wire especially, we're so afraid that we're gonna break it. Look at the grass that's growing on top of it, just encapsulating it. Like, if I grab this wire, try to pull it out, you're gonna break it. It's just, you gotta slowly, with both hands, rip to help that wire get out of there. See that? You gotta slowly just rip it out down to the water. Okay, I didn't put it in the big pond. I felt something touching my finger when I was moving all this stuff over into the yard. I didn't put it in the pond, but somehow they just naturally showed up. The big pond has leeches, so we are ever gonna be afraid to step foot in there. Look at that. The big pond has northern bloodsuckers. See that leech right there? It's small, but they can get up to 8-10 inches. All right, everyone, that's all cleaned up. We're gonna leave this in here for like an hour. One more final flushing of the pond before it freezes over for the winter. All the fountains are off. And I don't know where the leech went. I don't know if he'll find his way to this pond or die in the grass. So this will be put in my basement where everything can thoroughly dry out. I didn't really bother cleaning the air lines only because those air lines you see are now white. They're no longer clear. They bake in the sun, and I'm convinced some of them have kinks that are they're just not going to come out because it's no longer flexible enough. We're not going to get the kinks out. So airline's cheap. I can replace all that for like $5 if I buy it in a bulk spool. So probably replace the air lines. The air stones I'm sure can be reused. That air compressor right there is very powerful when it's in full sun. Same with that pump. Now this can go in my basement and dry out. I'm surprised I was able to fit it in that box, but I was really neat about it. Toilet brushes work great for this stuff. People make fun of me for them, but this is also great for cleaning snow out of the auger and propeller of the snowblower. Can't forget this. This is my transformer for my solar electric fence. So got to bring this in the basement because it has a really big battery that I don't want to die if it's out in too much cold weather. The garden's just about dead, so don't need it. I don't even know if this does anything or not. It definitely is on. It works. I've never had an animal actually try to get in here, but this is to try to prevent bears and raccoons from simply going over the fence and stealing my stuff, because we got a lot of raccoons. And I'll go put this in the basement with that stuff. Just pull it right up and out of there like that. Nice. And we still got to drain out some garden hoses. Usually if they freeze, they don't break. Like this is a very cheap, that's a vinyl hose. These ones are cheap, but all the other hoses I buy are rubber. They can sit outside, be around the ponds for decades. If you buy a real rubber hose, the black ones that have 6 sides, those ones will last you decades if you buy that. Last year I drained the water in a lot of those raised ponds down a bit so they didn't freeze and crack. But those are animal drinking troughs. They're built to be outside. They're built to withstand stuff. The snow and rain eventually filled them back up, and they froze anyways. So I know they can take a freezing, at least for a couple of years. Don't know how long they'll last in the long term, because eventually all plastic becomes more brittle. Now here on my trails, I put corn up every direction. Keeps the turkeys around. See how the trails are all raked? The turkeys rake all the trails. Not necessarily doing a good job, but they make the trails more dominant by raking everything up. The bears are gonna be in hibernation soon if they aren't already. Haven't seen them on my property in over a month, so we began just throwing leftovers out here again. We stop all feeding when the bears are present. So this right here, I built 2 ramps out of dirt hills with grass. There's screens going down the inside in case something ever fell in, it could get out. And I've seen lots of things here. Raccoons washing their hands, bears drinking from it, deer. This is starting to look kind of dirty and polluted, so maybe in the spring we're gonna just completely purge this out and clean it. Although with the debris in there, with dirt in the bottom of it, it may not look pleasant, but it keeps a biological cycle going, although it is stagnant. So good and bad things about that. Here we have a trail camera, jack-o'-lanterns from a camping video we did a while back. Those rotted real fast, mainly because I kept putting food in them. I kept putting things like bacon grease, other things to try to entice the animals into eating them. They ate a little bit of them, but they just wanted to get the food out of them, so the raccoons just ripped them apart and destroyed them. Oh, there's the alien over there. All right, everyone. So I'm trying to think, do I need to winterize anything else? My frost-free outdoor faucet doesn't need to be like winterized, but I also have another one outside that I winterized like a month ago because I realized it's cooler out, don't really have to water the garden. So I put a boiler valve outside instead of an actual outdoor faucet, only because you get more capacity out of them. Well, I'm going to end the video here. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. What do you think? Will these trees survive the winter? If they survive the winter, I think they deserve to be replanted somewhere where they'll actually be able to live long term. So I was noticing on these logs, so first off, I got these logs in the spring nearby in the swampy area of the woods. The part that's out of the water went into hibernation, but if it rains for a few days straight, it turns green. The bottom part of the rotten logs, like a sponge, always stays green. The stuff under the water is getting too much water. It kind of died. Although some of the peat moss likes that. You can see it's kind of going off, doing its own thing. But yeah, there was this tiny little maple tree right there. You think that'll... It looks like it's got a bud on the top of it. It looks still alive. You think that'll start growing again? There's also over here a small fir tree. Where is it? That looks like a... No, maybe not that. But yeah, over here there's a little fir tree. I wonder if that'll survive the winter too. All over my front door. Does anyone else ever have an issue with ladybug infestations? After I replaced a few of my windows last year, the issue got a little better, but not quite. Gone. First year I lived here, I had to take apart a good amount of the house, so there was a lot of gaps, I guess. There was thousands of them. I thought the cat had dug into a houseplant. There were so many dead ones in the window after I came home after a few weeks. Couple years after that weren't that bad. This year's pretty bad again. There's hundreds of them in the house, probably close to 1,000 ladybugs. When I was cleaning that stuff out there, if you saw me swatting them, they kept swarming around my shirt, maybe because it's colorful. And every time you'd swat them away from you, they leak this nasty stuff on you to try to get you to put them down. It's a predator thing. They leak this stuff so you'll hopefully not eat them. It's disgusting. But they don't bite, at least. But I did put bug zappers up in the house, so at night when it's dark, they all get attracted over to there and get killed. I never used to mind them. I would just sweep them up as they die, but once I noticed that they leave trails of poop on the ceiling, I started killing them. Yeah, so this is what the house is like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.